Hey, what's up? It's episode 11. We're talking about pre-production, compression settings for bass, and minimum specs you need for a mixing rig.
3, 2, 1.
This is the ASKJV Show.
Our first question comes from Sean. Hey Jordan, how do you go about pre-production? Do you sit with a band and help arrange their songs and rewrite if needed? Do you require them to provide you with demo tracks first? If they don't have a demo, do you record rough versions of their songs and make changes as needed? I'm trying to determine the most productive way to go about pre-production as a producer and recording engineer. Thanks for all your help.
Hey Sean, I really like this question because I'm a big believer in pre-production. It's made a huge difference on all the work that I've done when I started doing that kind of as a matter of course for making records. It kind of depends on the band. If it's a local band that's pretty close by, often I'll just go to their practice spot, and sometimes they have a little rough recording rig set up and we do the demos. Sometimes I've just recorded a demo right on my phone or something just for referencing later. But usually we just do changes on the spot. You know, I get the band to play the song for me 2-3 times till I get an idea for it, and then I just start to talk about issues that I hear with the song. You know, I might say, okay, to the bass player, you know, what are you playing there, or what's the guitar player, and just try to get a really good understanding of the song and the arrangement, and then give my suggestions for how I think it can improve, and then also hear their suggestions and hear their concerns and stuff. Or if I notice maybe that someone's trying to play something that's a little above their skill level, I'll try to point that out in that stage as well, and kind of maybe try to tweak the part or tell them, you know, go home and practice this before we actually do the real tracking. So that's always a good way to do it. If the band was from farther away, then I'd actually schedule time into the studio booking ahead of the actual tracking. So I might book maybe for say a 5-song EP, I might book 2-3 days of pre-production. Maybe 2 days would probably be enough. And I would just set up the whole band in the live room, get a really, really rough recording set up, just with, a couple inputs on the drums and then the bass guitar, vocals and stuff. Sit there with headphones in the room with the band, listening to them play the song the exact same way that I just described in a practice space. The only difference is if I'm in my studio doing the pre-pro, then I would... Once we've kind of gone through all the suggestions of the song, I would get them to do a rough live take down into the DAW, and then I'd bounce that out for them so they can go home at night and just listen to the changes and get that drilled into their head for when we actually do start tracking. So those are a couple ways to do it. It works out really great that way if you do have the ability to multi-track the pre-production, because then when it comes time to track drums, you can already have kind of the guide guitar tracks and guide guitar bass. Then it kind of just becomes a matter of like, okay, here's the rough version of the song and we've got all the tracks there, and then you just go and replace all of those performances with the real deal. So that's my opinion on pre-pro. It's definitely, if you're not doing pre-production, you got to start doing that. And I know it takes time to basically kind of build up your credibility to the point where if you ask a band to come and do pre-production and you start making suggestions, they've got to trust you. So you've got to either have a good track record or a relationship with the band. And, it takes time, even within that window of maybe a couple of days that you are doing pre-pro. Maybe the first day they're not as receptive, but then, you pick your spots and you make some good suggestions and it makes a difference in their song, and they it brings a smile to their face. And then they start trusting you and you start developing that relationship. And one other big tip with pre-pro, maybe I'm getting off on a tangent here, but you've got to let go of your ideas as much as you want them to let go of their ideas. What I mean is that once an idea is thrown out on the table, you can't think of it as belonging to you, and you don't want the band to think of it as belonging to them. It's just an idea. Everyone tries it, you consider it, and you decide yes or no. If you get your ego involved and if you start suggesting some ideas and the band turns it down and you get your back up about it, it's not going to work out. So stay humble, realize that it's their song, but try to give your best input and suggestions, and hope that helps.
Our next question comes from Pascal. My question has to do with your approach to bass guitar and compression. Can you tell us what your general approach with compression on bass is? I know each case is unique, but what are your go-to settings for compression ratio and attack and release? Do you have the compression working almost all the time, or just catching some peaks and transients?
Like you said, each case is unique. It kind of depends. But I guess kind of my go-to bass compressor is the CLA 76 plugin from Wave. So it's an 1176 compressor plugin. So it's usually set with a medium to fast attack and a fairly fast release. And usually I'll use multiple stages of compression. If the bass track is really dynamic, then I'll probably do the 1176 or something similar right off the top, just to even it off a little bit, get it into a better spot, then doing some EQing, and then compress a lot again, usually with the 1176 again, and just really slam it as much as I can to really get it fat and nice and controlled, up to 10, 20 dB of gain reduction. Again, depends on the song, depends on the genre, style, all that stuff, but heavy compression there, and then usually a tiny bit of L1 limiter at the end of the chain, just catching the peaks, 1 or 2 dB max. I find that that's usually roughly the chain that I use for bass compression.
Our last question comes from Roy. Hi, Jordan. Don't know if you'd answered it before, but just want to know what the specs of your machine is. Plus, what's the bare minimum specs you'd recommend that are realistic for mixing? I'm thinking of purchasing a machine and want to know what you think.
This is a timely question because I'm just in the middle of actually updating my whole rig here. So in terms of minimum specs, I don't know. I'm not much of a computer guy. I hate dealing with that. I've avoided upgrading my Pro Tools rig and my Mac for so long, like up until literally yesterday. I was running this 2009 Mac Pro with, I think, Snow Leopard. So, 7-8 years behind here in Pro Tools 8. I'm realizing it's time. I eventually gotta upgrade, especially as I'm doing more tutorial videos for you guys. I don't want to be using such old software. So, just in the past couple of days, I decided to stick with my old Mac Pro here. See if we can see it. There it is. Upgraded with a solid state drive to make it a little faster. It's a 2009, like I said, but that's helped a lot. It's still a beast. I've got 6 gigs of RAM in there. It seems fine. I guess 8 would be better, but this seems plenty fast to me. And you just need some big hard drives to hold all your audio. So, I mean, like I said, I'm not much of a computer nerd. I hate getting bogged down by that stuff when I'm just working on music. Like, I just want to be able to fire up a machine and have it work. I hate spending days updating stuff, figuring out specs, all that. So that's basically where I'm at. I mean, I did keep my older HD rig here to recall older mixes, and just in case I get some bugs on the new Pro Tools 12 system and everything. I'm sure that will take time to iron out, so I never want to jump up to something and be stuck there. So I kept my old rig here. Probably will keep it for a while. You never know. A lot of times a band will email me 2 years down the road and say they need some stems, or they need me to recall a mix or do a instrumental bounce or something like that. So I got to keep my old rig and get the new one, but that's the way it goes. But don't get caught up on computer specs and stuff. Like, search some forums, do a quick Google search, probably like 20 minutes. You'll learn everything you need to know that's important. You just need basically any modern, up-to-date computer will work, I would say. And I'm using a 2009 computer, so that just goes to show you don't need to have the best and the biggest setup. All right, thanks for watching. As always, please leave a comment below or leave a review on iTunes if you would be willing to help me out there. And submit your questions to AskJVPod.com. We're getting a lot of questions coming in now, starting to get more traffic to this podcast. It's awesome. Having a lot of fun answering your guys' questions. So keep them coming, and I will see you next week. And if you're not on my mailing list, that's where I send out all my best stuff, and you get updates about everything I'm doing. So head over to hardcoremusicstudio.com and grab the free mixing cheat sheet there, and you'll be on the newsletter for all the new content. All right, we'll see you next week, guys.